Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. My name is Susan Clay. I'm a member of our women's choir, She Sings. Don't fret about the name. You'll get used to it. And also the membership committee. We're pleased to have our brand new minister, Terry Bailoff, moving to town this week, and she'll be taking care of services as of July 29th. So we're excited about that. In the meantime, we have lay-led services. Today, the service is offered by the women's choir, She Sings. Next week, the service will be led by the young adults, so be here for that as well. Please be sure to check out the announcements in the bulletin. Now I invite you to listen to the music for gathering.
Please join me in the unison affirmation which is located on the inside of your bulletin. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. The opening words this morning are a selection from the She Sings Covenant, which is basically a document that we put together to try to help ourselves understand what we expect of each other as a women's choir. You can follow along with that introduction, which is on the inside of your bulletin. The power and worth of beautiful music guides She Sings in serving the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. She Sings has the potential for excellence, and that means taking risks and sharing our talents. This covenant is formed in effort to create a space of openness and safety so She Sings may fully explore our gifts. At the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson, we also gather to openly explore our spirituality and sense of religion. And knowing that we have that support and encouragement and a safe environment to do that, we hope that we may more fully reach a state of wholeness, both as individuals and as a community. So may we hold these words in our minds as we go forth in our service this morning.
The first piece is by Welsh composer Karl Jenkins. It's Adiemus from a suite called Songs of Sanctuary. It's really special to me because it's one of the first pieces we did as a cappella choir. Actually, it wasn't a cappella. But I realized with that performance that we had a good thing going.
And now it's your turn to sing. I invite you to stand as you're willing and able and to join us in singing the first hymn, number 159, This Is My Song. Elaine will play it through once.
That song's a very good lead-in to the next part of our service, which is always joys and sorrows. And our main joy is always inviting visitors to introduce themselves. At the end of Joys and Sorrows, you'll have a moment of meditation, as we usually do, and then She Sings will be singing a song that'll be a musical meditation. I want to go ahead and explain that song. It's very much like what we just said. suffering and pain the great equalizers. It's easy to forget that other people have just as many troubles as you do, if not more. And luckily, we all have happinesses going on too. This song that we'll sing at the end, O vos omnes, is about taking that into account, remembering that everyone has pain, everyone has suffering, and we should all try to understand each other better because of that. Okay, so do we have any visitors today that would like to introduce yourselves? It's not mandatory. I think I saw somebody. So let's try to keep all of these joys and sorrows and any unspoken ones in our hearts as we have a moment of meditation, and then we'll move into the song from She Sings.
And now comes the time when we ask you to reach into your hearts and your wallets and help us grow our community and our church and to help each other.
To the steps of St. Paul's, the little old girl comes in her own special way to the people she calls. Come, buy my bags full of crumbs. Come, feed the little bird children you can, and you'll be glad if you do. So bare, all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds in the skies. All around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sounds her words. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though the words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed your bird, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag.
First of all, let me say thank you for your contributions to the fellowship. We appreciate them. When we figured out we were doing a service today, we were asked who wanted to volunteer. Thank you. Who wanted to volunteer to talk about the meaning of music in their life? And I shot my hand up. I found this more difficult than I thought it was going to be because I've never written about music before. Maybe because it's such a part of me, like an arm or a leg. You don't think about how wonderful something like that is, something that's so close and such an integral part of every little thing, because it's always been there, and you take it for granted that it will always continue to be there and be at your command forever. Thanks to the lullabies of my mother and to my father, who filled our home with music, there's always been music in my life. I remember when I got old enough to use Daddy's sacrosanct stereo and play some of the records that he had been collecting thanks to the Columbia Record Club. Anybody remember that? Okay, I'm trying. So I got to play the records. And not only was it just such a feeling of pride that I can play Daddy's stereo, it was an introduction into a world of music and mystery, of orchestras, piano music, singers. My favorite for a long time was A Midsummer Night's Dream. That is, until I discovered the original Broadway cast recordings that Daddy had collected. And I would love it when I came home from school. I'd go into his den and get out the records and play them and sing along with them, dreaming a young girl's dreams of someday performing them. And I thank She Sings for the opportunity to have that dream come true just a little bit this past spring when we did our Broadway review. This immersion in and love of music eventually led, along with a boyfriend in the band, to my learning to play the French horn, and even majoring in music my freshman year in college. But mostly, this immersion in music gave me so many songs that became a part of me, songs that were there for me when I needed them. I remember singing to myself sometimes when I was sad, or just to sing myself to sleep at night. And I'm so very grateful for the inestimable gift of music that my parents gave me. But you know, maybe even if I hadn't grown up in such a music-loving home, I might have come to the same or a very similar relationship with music. Intuition, culture, human history, and even science all tell us that we humans are hardwired to make music. We make music to soothe ourselves, to communicate with ourselves, with each other, and with the very divine. And not only humans, lots of animals sing. Even mice sing. Check it out on NPR. There's a video. And amazingly enough, as the mice grow older, their songs become more complex. So it's more than just a noise. Recently, the oldest musical instrument, a flute made of bone and thought to be 35,000 years old, was discovered, and thought maybe it was even used by Neanderthals. Music is at the very core of life. And because it is, it can impact us in some very profound ways. I recently heard of a study of non-communicative dementia patients in nursing homes. They interviewed the family. They found out the music that was significant to these people. They played it. They made a mix for them and put headphones on and played these soundtracks for them. You can see, again, NPR, check out the video. You can see their faces go from blank to engaged, and they began to talk to people around them. The power of music. I myself had a time, a long time ago, when I was just so privileged to be a channel for that power of music. I was working in a small community hospital in Dillon, South Carolina as a phlebotomist, which means I went out to draw blood every morning on patients. And one of my good friends' 90-year-old mother had been admitted, and I had to go to her bedside and draw blood. She was very agitated, and I don't know why, but I just began singing to her.
'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word. She immediately calmed down. After she died, about 2 days later, I found out from the family that that was her favorite hymn, and that she had been calm for the last 2 days of her life. Now, I started out by mentioning that you don't think much about something that's an intimate part of your everyday life. That is, until you don't have it. There was some difficult years in my life when I was a single parent and working 2 jobs, where music was really not a part of my life. I was too busy and worn out for choir. I didn't have a CD player. All the money went to just surviving. So when that began to change, my son bought me a CD player for Christmas. I came down here. I got into music here. It was like having an old friend come back into my life. And here at the UUFC, I have discovered new songs that accompany me down new paths, like the Croce that we sang last week. And there is one song in particular that's been very special to me, and that I learned from Jeannie Malgrim as part of a meditation. That's the one that starts, "May you be filled with loving kindness." A couple of years ago, I went with the Hulas to the hike-in, and we gathered at sunset in a circle and meditated in silence for about 20 minutes. At the end of the silence, I just felt that feeling again, and I began to sing the meta-meditation song. There was that feeling again of being a channel for the peace of the divine. Now, as I grow older and face the inevitable changes that this process brings, I'm facing doubt and confusion about where I go from here and what I still have to give. I was talking with a dear friend about that, somewhat frightened at the prospect of retiring and the radical changes that it would bring. And as we talked, a hawk, a divine messenger in Native American spirituality, flew overhead with a twig in its talons, a message to me that I was on the right path to build something new. Then, not too long after that, on a hula hike to Jones Gap, I was asked to sing the meta-meditation song when we stopped at Jones Gap Falls for lunch. This came right after one of those days when I had come away from She Sings rehearsal very aware of how my voice is diminishing with age and full of doubt as to whether I still had anything to give. But I sang, and I just listened to the music of the waterfall and tried to channel it through my song. And afterward, one of my fellow hikers told me that as I sang, a hawk flew overhead. I thank you all so much for teaching me new songs, for letting me share my soul in music, for being a community that is a safe place to sing my songs, and for singing with me. How can I keep from singing?
Thank you, Susan. That was really, really special. Thank you. I was asked, excuse me, I was asked to sing, not to sing, but to talk to you this morning, too, about my journey with music. And first of all, I'd like to say that I am very grateful for the opportunity to sing with such a talented group of women. I mean, very unique, very talented in very different ways. But they truly do make a difference in my life. And today I just want to talk to you about a few things about them, and also talk to you about why music matters to me and how music has been a part of my life. Perhaps like many of you, I took piano lessons as a child, sort of forced to, okay, at first, okay. My mother played, and she sang also, and I remember standing at the piano beside her, listening to her in awe as she sang. My parents also had the big stereo with the collection of records, including Broadway, classical, pops, and popular artists at the time, such as Henry Mancini. So we also had some rock and roll, which my sisters and I played. I had 3 sisters, and so we danced a lot. And I can remember my dad coming in from work in the front door, seeing my sisters dancing around, seeing us dancing around in the living room, and then he would like take his hands and over his like this, and he'd go, "Oh my gosh," you know, and he'd roll his eyes in his head and smile. And my dad was the psychology professor, and always a little bit different and funny like that. So that was good. He provided humor. When I was in high school, is probably when I first realized that I really enjoyed music. My mother, though, who was she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was also an artist. She painted. Shortly after my youngest sister was born, she had a very, very difficult time. She became ill. I guess I was 15 when Charlotte was born. Mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and was hospitalized in a psychiatric unit in a state hospital, probably about 100 miles from home. And, you know, I missed her when she was gone, and we all missed her. It was difficult. But what was really, really difficult was watching her struggle when she came home, because she was unable, she didn't remember how to play the piano again. And, you know, it made her very sad. And of course it was and I wanted her to feel good. So I started singing. And some of the time it put a smile on her face. But pretty soon I realized that it made me feel really good. And I enjoyed doing it. I stuck with music through high school, played first chair with my trumpet, you know, in orchestra and band. I sang in the choir, concert choir, and I even, like Susan, I was a voice major for a year at college. I ended up, although I didn't end up with a degree in music, I did also sing professionally in a band for a couple of years. We were like a lounge band. Okay, we sang a lot of pop music and also some original country rock, which I have to admit, I really didn't like it that much. But, you know, it was a job, it was singing, you know, I liked it. I liked that part of it. And we even cut an album. I sang lead on a couple of the songs, and I laid down some backup vocals, and so that was all good. But what happened was the band broke up, as many bands do after a while, and we all sort of moved on. I went on to become, first and foremost, a mother, and then after the kids were in school, I went back, got another degree in science, teaching chemistry and other sciences, and so. But I still found a way. I still kept gravitating back to the music. I mean, I can remember driving home from, when I was in graduate school, and I was driving home thinking, oh, this is crazy, man. I have rehearsal tonight, and I need to finish this research paper. How am I going to do that? You know, so it was always, I was always trying to balance, and I found a way to do it. We moved around a lot. And I found outlets in various places. I sang with the Orange Park Chorale, a 50-voice a choir down in Florida, and that was a good experience. That was different, and with different challenges than singing with She Sings. There was a period of time when I did not sing. I was just too busy. Got so wrapped up and involved in work, and I just found myself not being involved with it. And then I realized that I really missed it. So I started to bring it back into my life. One of the things that I did, and I still do frequently, is use music to help teach science concepts in the classroom. For example, last year I taught a few sections of introductory biology. And so to help my students learn how cell respiration works, and it's pretty difficult. How many of you know what I'm talking about, cell respiration? Okay, lots of words, right? Okay, okay. I found this YouTube video of a song by the Black Eyed Peas. I got a feeling, tonight's gonna be a good night, only I had all the cell respiration on it. and they really liked it. I mean, I could look out in this classroom of 27 kids and look at their faces, and they were all listening. And so that's what we want in the classroom. So, I mean, I still use it. I try to incorporate music into the classroom like that. Finally, when I moved here to Clemson about 5 years ago, I started singing first with the choir. Elaine was directing, and then with She Sings. I initially joined She Sings, but had sort of a jumpy start, had some health issues, kidney failure. When I felt good enough, though, to return to work, I said, well, I don't look great, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to give it an effort. Okay. And I started going back to choir practice. The prednisone that they prescribe for you, I don't know if any of you ever taken it before. Okay, see, it's a hand up. It has some nasty side effects. Yes. And, besides making you feel like you can eat a horse every day, it's like, my voice got so gravelly. I mean, I lost my voice quality, and it was just so frustrating. And I told Elaine, I said, I could come back to choir, but, I can't really sing. And she said, that's okay, Sarah, that's okay. You can still learn the music. And so I came up here, and I would sit, and I'd grab a stool because I still had a lot of swelling in my legs and everything. It was hard to walk. And I'd come up here and I'd sit with the stool, and they'd made sure that I was comfortable. And I would listen to their music, and I'd sort of mouth the words and try to sing, but I wasn't singing. And did that for a number of months. And finally, now, thank goodness, I'm back again. And with the God's willing, I hope to continue singing as long as I'm able. It's a commitment, though. It really is. And let me tell you all that we were so sure of this commitment as a group, as Heather told you, that we penned our own covenant, our pledge to one another. I sort of think of it like a musical prenup. Okay. Yeah. We all had a say and sort of signed off on it, and the code of conduct and purpose for the group. And Heather facilitated. But unlike the prenup, however, we didn't whip it out during moments of frustration and wave it around. Okay. But it's nice to know that we have that common ground. It is selecting the music for fellowship. I just like to say this, and then I'll close. Selecting music is not an easy task. And the director must not only consider the lyrics, making sure that they're appropriate and they're not offensive and they're not racist, okay? But you also have to analyze the tempo, the key, the tone or mood of the music, and ideally the well-chosen music reinforces the message of the main speakers. And so there's all those components of it that you have to look at. It needs to be well arranged. If you sing music, if you do music, that, it's okay to pick up any music, and all music has its merits, but there's some pieces that are just so fantastic that they deserve to be out there and to be done. It's we also have to be well rehearsed with attention to dynamics and enunciation. We probably spend 5 to 10 hours a week rehearsing, and for times like this, we had extra rehearsals, and as far as what is appropriate, we try to, like I said, we try not to choose music that is too, for lack of other expression, as Susan Clay says, too gaudy. Okay, all right, and so we try to, although we have done music that is religious, Pie Jesu, very religious, but as Susan Clay said, we did it, and we didn't really affect us any. We weren't traumatized, so we did okay. But if it did offend any of you, it was unintentional, and please accept our apologies. In summary, the purpose of She Sings is to inspire and motivate one another, and to encourage each other through the music. We hug each other when we're sad. Sometimes we even sort of piss each other off, but that's okay. That's what family does. And after each rehearsal or performance, we always go away feeling good. It's our hope that we will continue to have the opportunity to serve this community. Thank you for listening.
An important part of She Sings is being sensitive to your audience. And we've been watching the clock, and we want to make sure nobody has to stay after. So we're going to go ahead and start closing the service. We really hope you've enjoyed everything. Marine biologist and activist Roger Payne, he was the first person that brought whale song to everybody's attention back in the 70s. And he said this, My suspicion is that this commonality of music experience in whales and people is a demonstration of the fact that singing is far, far older than our species. It's something that we've inherited from ancestors so distant that we don't understand it. I think it's why it's so hard to explain to somebody why it is that you sing. Why make music? The answer is it's absolutely at the center of our being. You've heard today how much music means to She Sings, and our hope always is, too, that it will mean something to you and that you can take some joy and peace and ideas home with you from our music. So if that's the case, it's a win-win. So peace, blessed be, namaste, carry it home.
Carry it home to your children. Carry it out in the street. Carry it on to the ones you love and on to the ones you meet. Carry it light on your shoulder. Carry it deep in your soul. For we have been blessed with magic, and the magic will make us whole. Carry it home to your children. Carry it out in the street. Carry it on to the ones you love and on to the ones you meet. Carry it light on your shoulder. Carry it deep in your soul. For we have been blessed with magic, and the magic will make us whole. Carry it home to your children.